You're right. Karel Burian and Count John McCormack were both outstanding. Interestingly, Karel Burian's voice had too much inhalation into the pharyngeal cavity, making his breath support in the front feel insufficient, which resulted in a lack of certain brightness, though his resonance was excellent. Count John McCormack, on the other hand, did not use his pharyngeal cavity at all. His voice was clear and forward-focused, likely influenced by his singing of popular songs. Martinelli's voice perfectly combined the strengths of both singers, achieving a very balanced vocal placement. As for his stiffness, I have mentioned before that his unfocused, broadly spread breath, ranging from the 7 o'clock to the 1 o'clock position, was manageable when he was young because his body was still flexible, allowing his abdomen to vibrate naturally. However, as he aged, this method caused his voice to become rigid, despite his highly precise technique. Caruso, on the other hand, did not have this issue. His internal breath placement was extremely precise, adjusting according to the pitch and phrase length, ensuring the most appropriate breath placement. His volume was slightly smaller than Martinelli's, but his resonance was excellent. Caruso mastered the efficient use of breath, whereas Martinelli's middle and high notes had nearly the same breadth, essentially creating a mix of middle and high registers. Caruso was more precise. His middle voice was focused in the front chest, while his high notes shot straight to the back of the head and resonated in the head cavity with added nasal resonance. This gave his voice incredible projection. Martinelli's high notes, however, still retained too much front chest breath support. Of course, this way of singing is still possible, but from the perspective of Italian bel canto, it is not entirely refined. I made an overlapping audio of Caruso and Martinelli singing O Paradiso and La Bohème. Please listen carefully and think about it. Although Caruso and Martinelli have very similar voices, when measured using my clock breath distribution theory, their singing methods are completely different. If I didn't place their voices together, you wouldn't truly understand their differences. This is why Martinelli once said, "Caruso is a being from another universe we can't even compare to his little finger." I believe this is a matter of wisdom. For the first time in vocal history, I have created the clock breath distribution theory. By applying it simply, you can focus on where the breath is located during singing, not just before singing. Everyone knows to fill their lungs with air before singing, but if all that breath immediately gathers on the vocal cords with the first note, there is no internal breath support left. In that case, you would have to rely on throat tension, leading to more and more errors. So how could we even talk about proper technique? In O Paradiso, under the same condition of having abdominal breath support, Martinelli's voice is entirely placed in the oral mask. This means that although he has abdominal breath support, it accounts for less than 20% of his total breath. In contrast, Caruso is the opposite. He uses 80% of his abdominal breath to drive the 20% of breath that resonates above the vocal cords. His abdominal support is effective, whereas Martinelli's is ineffective. Using only 20% of the body's total breath cannot drive the remaining 80% of the resonance sound in the resonating chambers. This kind of vocal production, as seen in Martinelli, is now commonly used by modern tenors. However, they are even worse because they lack even 20% of abdominal breath support and instead rely on incorrect vocal techniques, forcing their larynx. Martinelli's excellence lies in the fact that, although his abdominal support is reduced to around 20%, he still does not abandon it. Even with weak breath, he applies breath pressure from below the abdomen. Since you have a good ear, you should be able to hear this. Thus, without my clock-like breath distribution theory, history has failed to clearly explain or even discuss the vocal techniques of Caruso and Martinelli. But look, I have simply analyzed the difference between the two. Never forget to remember my clock-like breath distribution theory. Apply it to your singing, use it to evaluate others, and judge whether you are right or wrong.